Hello, and this retouching we're going to start with using Camera Raw, and here's some shots from the one photo shoot I did kind of recently, and we're going to retouch these portraits. It's somewhat Renaissance, some portion of Rococo. I think it just mixed styles, okay, but I do like kind of this look, so we're going to retouch this. Before we start, I want to just go check what we was done, and you can see this was shot on a Canon R5 with a lens RF24-105, which actually just answer a question that sometimes people ask about photo shooting: what lens I should buy. Should I spend a lot of money on expensive lens, or they start fighting about one lens on another ones? This is what they consider stock lens. Stock, it's for a reason because it's most versatile lens you can use in many situations, and many photos I done just with this lens. And I will, if you got questions, go check how it's look. If you like it, the lens will work. So overall, this is our f24. You can see focal length 29mm, so it's a little bit wider angle. Technically, I try to keep it maybe 35 for this full-size portrait, but that should work just fine. What is actually tell 29mm right here on the sides will probably have distortions. We'll see how bad they are. This shouldn't be bad at all, and it's worked probably just well. And it's f4.2, which is a little bit too wide open for when I photo shoot. I usually try to photo shoot with f8 or f10, which is does not allow shallow depth of field, and I will add in a post blur. And also, if you work with portraits, you want to create like somewhat Renaissance, Rembrandt, Victorian, some of that old areas, Rococo, Baroque type of the portrait style. If you look, they don't have it blur. They don't have a distance blur. It's all very sharp from beginning to end. All details very well draw in. And if you want to create a portrait in that style, keep this in mind, that our current look, what people like it when you have it sharpened eye and it's going in a blur, all the stuff, it is more reflect the modern photography than is painting, and it's one of the details to keep in mind if you want to do in that style. So right here we selected file, and you notice it was extension CR3, so it is Camera Raw format, and because it is done in Camera Raw, will open as well in Camera Raw processing. It's our first step. And right here I can see a little distortion, but they're not affecting our main character, which is good, except right here you can see the head pull a little bit, so we'll need to pull a little bit back around there. We could also going down, and you can see use profile correction that will slightly adjust. As well, we're using remove chromatic abbreviation from the lens, and doesn't matter how good is your lens, you will always have chromatic abbreviations. This is just property of the light passing through the refraction through the lens. Okay, let's go up on top, and we have highlights and shadows. When we're working with it, doesn't matter light, darker skin, you always need a little bit rework on the tones, because right now 2D, it's representation of 3D world that we see around, and 3D world representing by parallax and some distancing, some other properties like a haze, contrast, saturation, and so on. But in this case, the representation highlights and shadows would give us shape. For example, we take saturation to the 0, you can still see exactly the same shapes, because color, it doesn't matter in this case. All what is matter is luminosity. It's how bright or dark a specific place and that's what we've done. We'll take saturation down, we'll take our highlights, and we'll try just slightly flatten out. What I mean flatten out, it's bringing darker a little bit to the middle point and brighter a little bit down, so we don't lose this information. In some cases, if you work with HDR, you can think about this tone mapping or compress some of those depth of the contrast. Reason is why we're doing this. When we start modifying shapes, we're going to use soft light. With the soft light type, blending 50% gray, it is not affecting. If you go darker or lighter, it will give it highlights or shadows. So we can add more to this. And in some cases, it's kind of silly maybe to going towards the flattened image. Then we can manually deflatten that image to make more density to this. But again, by doing this, we can control where we want to do. We can control shapes and everything. And how I said before, highlights and shadows, it's what give us shapes in this case. Okay, so I'm just doing this. I'm just bringing in two of those ones. We fine. Let's restore our saturation. In case if you want to still restore some of the shapes, you can always go in Luminosity tab and color mix and use it by orange and other ones just to bring a little bit back highlights that maybe was too aggressively affecting. But remember, this will only affect in a color range you're selecting. For example, if you have a bluish or other ones, it's one effect. When we're done, let's go ahead, click open, and then at that time we process raw image, and this is inside the Photoshop. So the couple things, let's look around what we have. We have right here the soft box top right top left corner. We also have a seam on top, which is fine. What we want to do, let's go crop first our image to focus, and usually I'll just bring down around there, so closer to the face, maybe like around here. I do like these details with a pair on, we'll leave it here round, and I think this is about all what I want to do. Press enter to enable this crop occurred. Next things, as I said before, if I'm going to look on the face, and we'll just, let's go take tool, and this is maybe help us. So if we look, we can see slightly distortions right around this area. So I'm going to duplicate this layer, edit, transform, and we're actually going to use warp for this. Let's go zoom a little bit closer, and I can see a little bit skewed. You can see how the line's going. What we're going to do is just bring a little bit back. Right there. There you go. The lines, we don't need to worry about a lot of things except the, how to say, the face maybe. Just slightly, like around there. Okay, let's go push enter, and that is happened because 29, how to say, it was too much. 35 probably max you want to go in this case, but many times when you photo shoot, I photo shoot from the sessions anywhere from 500 to 600 shots per model. It's quite a bit actually, but it's allowed me to look on all those distance, and I usually switch my zoom in and out going so I can have a different effect. But right here we can see before and after. Definitely it was skewing, and we replaced a little bit. We don't worry about too much this background. We can easy to blend this together, and that's what we're going to do right now. As we select first image, before, actually, you know what, let's go create new. It's Control Shift Alt E, Command Option Alt E. We create new master. Okay, so and from there we'll start working. I like to keep it those two on the bottom just in case we need to come back. I'm going to select a patch tool and just select the stop where we have our parabolic dish. Just move it out, select, so there's we remove it. Top, we don't need to worry about crop already. Right here we can see some repetitions going. Don't worry about too much on this. Again, the backgrounds what I'm using, it is from experience, and it's helped me to kind of blend very easy in this case right there. So there you go. Okay, if you have a problem like right here, we can see the leaking elements. We can always go ahead, switch to the spot healing tool, hold down Alt, select the edge. Oops, actually it's not spot healing brush tool. Okay, down, we'll select the edge, go bring closer, run here, and there you go. We'll just fix this leaking out. Don't worry about too much because this is probably will go vignetting going in a dark area around because we want focused on the face. Okay, next, let's create new layer called retouching. And on this one, you can see we have it lines right here, very okay, spot healing tool. And these lines they're okay, but I want just remove it. Mostly I don't worry about big ones, I'm worried about these little ones because they're showing how the backdrop was folding. We don't need to remove all the way the part of this. It's creating this kind of messy background a little bit. Okay, right there. I just want to be sure to remove it. Some of those wrinkles, they're okay. Mostly what I'm worried about, this straight one. You can see how they're going, the folding. Small ones, they actually, wrinkles work very well. I think they add a little bit more character. Mostly we just want to go and remove some of this seams like right there. Okay, those ones is okay. They crumble. It's nice. This is straight lines. It's what we don't want to see. Okay, now let's go closer on the face, see if anything. And usually I'm avoiding to, by the way, this will be full the resolution. So if I'm going very close. It's why sometimes maybe look a little bit not sharp, because we're actually zooming quite a bit past the original resolution. So right here, I don't like touch imperfection. Is what make perfect, in other words. Okay, but what I'm looking on the face, and if I'm just going and scan the face, and if something like my eyes stopped on that is, I want to remove some of those elements, and I don't want fixed everything. I want this skin kind of be like this, but again, I'm going like right here. It's not necessary. If it was a birthmark or other ones, what I will do, I'll create special overlay and I will make it a little bit less obvious, but it still be there. So I don't want to remove it. However, some of those temporary things that is maybe just only happen day before some zits, those ones I want remove if again they dragging my attention to them. Right here we have a seam a little bit on a chair, and this is quite a bit up chair, using a lot of photo shoots. And of course I'm always, you know, the props as photographer, you're going to look around, and it's what I'm constantly looking for new props. Okay, the one thing, just point on details, and again, most people probably won't notice this, but this is done for my own self. You can see a rhino, and it's kind of, if you look on the painting of a Rococo time, almost all of them will have a rhino inside. It was kind of funny trademark. People use this one. The parrots representing some other stuff. It just overall small details, I think, is kind of fun if you put it in your scenery. And if you look on an old painting, what done a lot of elements that it will represent the person. It tells story of the person. So whatever I'm setting up in a painting, I'm trying to go tell story that is maybe just only person itself will know, but it's personalized the creation for me, at least to that person. Okay, so let's go ahead, zoom out, and I think that is not too many touch-ups we need to do, but it will work very well, I think, at this point. The dress right here, I see I have a little bit. We can try. Problem with the dress, we may have it. No, it's work fine. Just remove those lines that was quite a bit jump in my eyes when I was looking, but I think it's okay. Also, you can see the lines going horizontally, and this has happened from the hoops under skirts. Just recommendation, I have it from practicing. We have different ones. Find one if you decide to do this. You can purchase dresses, all the stuff, and the hoops, they have a special one with extra layers. Get those ones because they will make a little bit more softer and remove some of those edges. This is already softer. If I don't use it extra underskirt with extra layers, then you will see those lines coming up, and it's very hard to sometimes work with them. So just FYI, if you photographer decide to do this, be sure that small tip for you. Okay, right here we kind of touch up. I think that is good. Let's go next step. I want to apply some smoothing, and smoothing, what is happening, will take and reduce some details. Control Shift Command Option Alt on Mac to take all visible layers, combine them in brand new. Okay, and we're going to name it as smooth. Next, we're going to filter noise, and we're going to use a dust and scratches. Dust and scratches will analyze and remove elements, kind of blend, or take the smallest item and it's going blend. But it's also contrast detecting mode. You can see edges, it's kind of preserved them very good. Usually what I'm going, and it's about what you can recognize, like eyes, face, about 17, maybe let's go with 18 pixels. Yeah, about right here will be nice. This radius will be changed depend on how big image or details and so on. Usually what you need to watch, at least I'm watching, like right here, see recognizable eyes, so I can see them. I won't touch eyes with this, but this is level of details I want to actually affect with dust and scratches. Let's go ahead, click OK. It should apply over. I don't want to apply on all image. I just want to apply on some details. For this one, Alt or Option and click on a mask. This will create a black mask hiding our effect. Now by using brush, white brush, we want to be sure we want to use it soft round. Let me close this one, soft round right here. And we want to use the opacity at least 10. You can make it smaller. In this case, flow 100 should be fine. And I'm just going paint over in these elements. And you can see we're just reducing some details. And that is also kind of illustration on the older painting or painting by itself. I don't know if you ever try to paint, you cannot add details to everything, because what's happening, our eyes, they will focus on the brightest first, but next they will stop on more details area. It's how we try to analyze, and because working with details, we'll try to reduce them just to make the people look in the area we wanted. Okay, what I'm going right here over the skin, if you notice, I'm avoiding hair, I'm avoiding eyes, I'm avoiding lips. I'm just only going with the texture of the skin. And what it does, it's reduce. I'm not illuminating, I'm dim down some of those higher detailizations or grain on the skin. Okay, before and after, you can say. We do losing some of the highlights that we want to restore later, but it is make a little bit less grainy on our skin. And of course we need to be sure we done this for the other, like hands, legs, or other skin, and maybe on some elements. For example, like right here, chair, and you can see it's scuffle, all the stuff. What I want to do, I want to use that same type idea on this, just to reduce some of those detailization. Again, this is you as an artist, you leading what user will see. And if we have too many details, too high texture around this area, what will happen, our eyes will draw directly to this, just to look on the details, try to decode. It's how our nature work, and that is will remove attention from, example, model eyes or some other elements. However, her dress, it's part of the story I want to tell, so I will leave it this high texture here, but I will remove it around here, dim down. Again, tell the story with your images, what we're trying to do. And if we also try to apply maybe some texture, high textures will look a little bit more muddy. We need to kind of avoid that. Okay. I think this is about all what I want to do with this. Let's go click on a mask, and there's our mask. You can see where effect applied. Okay, and you can do this by hold down Alt or Option key, and left click on a mask, and you can preview just mask, see what is going. Of course, if you hold down shift, you can cancel and just kind of enable, disable temporary. This is small shortcuts. I do recommend for the people who working with any application, at least learn one shortcut per session, and then you'll soon enough will know a lot of our shortcuts, and they do help you to perform a little bit faster and better in this case. Okay, next we'll work a little bit on the hair and maybe flowers, because right now if we look on the flowers, they look very artificial. Let's make them look more painted alike. Same with the hair, and then we'll go in Control Shift Alt E, Command Option Alt E, press all key together. This will create a new layer, and let's go call it paint. So that's what we're going to use it. And we'll go to Filter, Stylization, Stylize Oil Painting. In oil painting, we'll just go and select Stylization 10, Clearness 10, Scale 0.1, Brush Bristle. Let's go 0.1 as well on this. I want to enable lighting because lighting will help create a little bit more texture. We'll click OK. You can see it's a little bit smudgy. I want to bring a little bit more contrast on this filter. And we're going to sharpness. Where's my sharpness? There you go. Used unsharp mask. And we'll want to pop up maybe about 150 just for round number. Click OK. Again, I don't want to apply this. Okay, if we look these brushes right here, let's look closer, okay, before we do stuff. And you can see it's have a little bit more brush stroke, reduce quite a bit details. Again, we don't want to do this everywhere. We hold down Alt or Option, click on a mask, and it's creating cutting. So now we want to do in a couple places. One, I want to do in the hair, and again, we'll use it white 10% brush. We'll just, and let's just leave it clean up, making the hair look more interesting, and cleaning up what's happening with the hair. With this curly hair, you kind of cannot see it too much, but if you have straight hair, you'll see the lines go not directly parallel with the hair, it's go cross hair, and that's what make look messy, and we're kind of fixing this. And also, let's look on the flowers. You can definitely see this is fake flowers. And if you thought they're real, sorry for disappointing you, but you can, when we're painting over a little bit flowers, we add some of those brush strokes, and I think it will make us sell these flowers as painted. Okay, so it's kind of going this way. We don't need to apply too much, just a little bit. And it's help creating the effect. I don't want to touch on a basket. But what you can do also, you see how this look plasticky? Well, because it's made from plastic. Mostly this specular lighting or these highlights will destroy it. But if we add a little bit more painting effects, people will accept and says, hey, you know what, it's painted. So I'm going this to add to the areas. Pages, maybe a little bit to create some of the effect on the pages. And by the way, if you're interested, this is beautiful books to photo shoot, to use it. The pages like this, it's what you see, it's coming like that book, and you can just search them on Amazon. Of course, a lot of stuff you can buy from Amazon, and this is excellent props for multiple. You can use it which look this way. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit to the chair, this painting effect, just slightly make it look a little bit more interesting, I think. Okay, don't touch a dress on this. That is about all with this. How say, maybe right here a bit on the bottom. Okay, so right now what we've done, we have it painting smooth, we did the touch all this stuff. Let's bring a little bit even more texture into our image. To do this, Control Shift Alt, we do a lot of this time. Option Alt, Command Option Alt E. Again, take everything, combine, and we'll call Global Dutch Burn. Okay, what are we going to do? Image adjustments, going to black and white. And I'm just taking red and yellow brush, just a little bit up, or red and yellow. It's what majority our skin tone will be. Click OK. We'll go to Image Adjustment. Let's go to Shadow and Highlights. And what I want to do, hit the Be sure we are in advanced mode. And what's happening when you open sometimes first time, you'll have it like this menu, and you see right here, show more options. Check this box, you'll have access to all of these properties. And we want to set radius to about 10 pixels. You can play anywhere between 10 and 15 pixels will work fine. Amount, both of the highlights and shadows, 100% amount. And tone, this is where you need kind of play around. What I want to do, it's a bring. You need to keep it in mind that what we're going, our goal to switch this layer after to the soft light blending mode. Soft light, if you have 50% gray like around here, it won't affect our image. All what affect if it's going above or below 50. So if we emphasize highlights, make them a little bit stronger, then we'll need to move brighter or darker. So bring, and you can see on a dress, see how the picture is coming up. That is all popping up. All of those details will come up more. So we'll go ahead, click OK. And if we look closer, right here, you can see how the details, this is, we can bring texture. It's one of the best way to bring texture, skin and everything. And after you cleaning, if you do it this way, it will be nice, smooth texture, will add more. If you want to create even better, kind of heavier, go to the sharpener and use the unsharp mask, which is will create even, you can see how sharp it's come up. So we'll go like maybe about 50, click OK, and let's switch to the soft light. Where's my soft light? Right here. And look what's happening with the highlights and shadow. You remember what I said before? Highlights and shadow is what give it us the shape. So technically we're affecting shape, and it's before and after. You can see how we remove. We don't necessarily want to remove that strong as well, but just in case we have ability. And I'm just using global opacity to reduce down to maybe 212 to bring around this area. If you want it, you can also use the mask tool just to add shapes in other specific area you want it. Okay, let's go next to work a little bit more on dodge and burn techniques. This dodge and burn, it will affect shadow highlights, or we will start affecting shapes. We also, with these techniques, we can move elements that we don't want to pay attention, like maybe this basket is too bright. We can apply additional shadowing to this to put it away and bring attention more to our hero, to eyes and face of our model. To do this, we'll create new layer, and that's multiple ways you can do dodge and burn. You can do it directly from here, but using different blending mode. What I like to do is fill up with 50% gray, so I can preview, or I can apply sharpness and so on. I can do a lot of effect with this, and I'm switching this to soft light mode. You can see it's become invisible, so it does not do anything. And we're going to use it brush with a 10% opacity. We want to be sure it's soft round brush, and we're going to apply there. I like to separate dodge and burn global and dodge and burn directly to our model. So right here we have it start with the black, and you can see I'm applying, like for example, to her cheeks, nose. I'm emphasizing a little bit on her shape, and even with this little bit you can see how it already slightly changing. Okay, so we'll go apply even more, creating more shapes. Okay, there you go. You can kind of play around. Overall, just think about this. Our perception is work this way. If it's darker, it's far away. If it's brighter, it's closer or bigger. So like, for example, if I want to make her lips a little bit puffy, I'll make top and bottom just a little bit darker. Okay, we'll switch to the white, and we'll just add a middle point, like right here, to the white color. And look on this lips, like bottom lip. Before and after, you can see how it's become a little bit more round and puffy. This is actually theory behind this. Dodge and burn again. Also, we can add like dot spectral lighting, maybe right there, a little bit more on her eyes, and this will help us. So like right there, let's bring a little bit more, and we'll just add a little bit highlights. Remember, we lost some of those highlights when we did blend, so we restore. But beside that, we can also help us to create additional lighting, and this is how we add. Okay, let's look before and after, and you can see I have a dark line right here going something. Okay, let's go X. We'll just fix this one. There you go. Okay, and you remember how we done before, and You can see it just helps us to create a little bit more interesting this way. Okay, let's go before and after. Okay, this is applied to her face. We can go closer and let's look on her hands. Always remember, because it is all body, we want to apply it. We want to add a little bit more. Again, I'm using so my lights right there, you can see it's a black and white set. If you're using D, you can reset it, but if you're using X key, you can flip between foreground and background color, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just click X when I need it, switch between shadows, whites, and highlights, and it's how to apply to these. Okay, and I think this hand we kind of fine. We don't need to worry about this. It's in the shadows, so that is what applied to the model. We could apply some global at same element, but again, I like to change again, and there's our face. You can see how it's look much better. Okay, let's go ahead, create new layer, and it will be global dodge and burn. We'll go to fill up with 50% gray. And by the way, you know what, I like to add color tags to them, and usually it's just helped me define what it is. Like for example, retouching, just different colors, and painting, going to the green effect. This is total subjective colors. You can use it any color you want it. For me, it just helped me to identify the what layer, so I can visually look on them and see what I'm doing. Okay, now remember, I says we do globally, and right here I'm just adding shadows. Like for example, right here, I don't want this so bright, and I'm start adding global shadows and highlights. So we'll hide. We don't need this so bright in this area, and a softer, bigger brush will make very nice shadows for us. Here you can see we kind of hiding. Okay. Sometimes dodge and burn, it can bring only so far. Okay, it cannot create absolute black or other things if you don't have it. But if you need to have it more intense shadows or way more intense highlights, you can create new layer, switch this to the multiply mode if you need to do 4 shadows. And what I will recommend for you to do, because multiply mode or screen mode, they also will pass through the saturation information or the color information. So then we want to be sure we test like this dark area. We check this, because if we take some color of this and preview in some of them, okay, let's go like right here. You can see it's not pure black. It is have a cast of the red. So and sometimes like right there. And we can still apply multiply, but multiply can go to 100% black, but it will create much deeper and darker shadows. And it's maybe help, because I know in some cases with the dodge and burn, you cannot achieve some of those darker shadows. But right here we can apply with a color casting, and it will look a little bit better. So for example, there you go, this is one, and we can call shadows, and just as example you can do highlights. Okay, and we'll switch to the screen mode, and we'll just sample some brighter like around here, and just example. Okay, we don't need to do, but you can see with the screen mode we can bring quite a bit. So I don't need the screen actually. I'll go with dodge and burn. Let's put shadows below, and we'll go with the shadows maybe on a blue color because it's a little bit different. And dodge and burn, let's reset to white color. I'll just a little bit right here with your face, brighten up, maybe too much, but there's our center of attention. Okay, and we actually can just leave it there, maybe too much. There you go. Okay, and take this a little bit more in a dark. And her chair, I can see it's a little bit too bright, so let's go right there. Add shadow. So all what we're doing, we're playing with this brightness, how much we want it to add Let's go right here. And before and after, you can see how we change attention quite a bit to specific elements. There's additional shadows, and now we have it in a dark. Don't afraid to hide some of details. They still be there. They still be in the picture. You can see them. It just your attention not instantly drawing to those elements. This is what most important for us. Okay, we want to just focus on that specific area where we want to direct attention of our people, of the viewers. So right here we kind of done this. Let's go next, add more color, correct kind of color adjustments. It's still be not bad even not as it is, but I think a little bit touch up. And usually I do through the Filter Forge, and let me show you. And I'll show you two ways we can do through Filter Forge and not. In a Filter Forge, what is actually nice, it's that I can go to Filter, Filter Forge, open one, and I already done some presets here. So what is meaning by presets? Filter Forge application, you kind of need purchase. You have 30 days trial, I think, but let me move it. And I'm just trying to rescale this because I usually set my screen to 4K and I'm recording on smaller. So, okay. So let me explain. Filter Forge, it is application to pay, but it's like 600, I don't know, it's a huge amount of filters. It's free, user created, and you can go ahead and utilize them. For example, right here I created filters and it's called Phototone. Just take color corrections and you can one click apply. What it does, it's have it special adjustment per channels, and also you can go in settings and play in the settings if you needed to set some a little bit more, you know, coloring, all that stuff. And you can see it's work on luminosity, and it's work on the different channels of coloring. When you're done, it's one click and it's applied. So it's the reason why I like it in my work process, because I don't need worried about a lot of stuff. I already pre-created a bunch of those looks and it's applied. In some cases, if you work with LUTs, you may be familiar with some of those looks. It's kind of similar to that. Of course, the LUTs is way more complex. So you can do way more than this one can do, but just some parallel. Okay, and you can apply to this. This is one way to do. Let me delete it. But for those who does not have it, you can apply this couple ways. One, we need to take several steps. One, we'll need to create curves, and this is curve will be our color. First color curve. We'll need definitely switch to color mode, because color will switch to the channels, go to the blue, take a blue, bring up. This is affect our shadows. You can see right here our shadows, and our colder, darker area will be blue color. Darker midpoint, take to a little bit to the yellow, so it will be warmer. We work with the complementary colors, and it's very easy. You can see blue, yellow, so it's a complementary. If we look right here, there's a blue, this is yellow cross. It's what we're going with these colors kind of schema. Next we'll go to red. We'll take this one, bring a little bit more to cyanish, actually. Again, keep it cold. Just add midpoint a little bit on the red, on the warmer. And here's our coloring, slightly applied, you know, maybe a little bit more in yellow and a blue. We'll go bring down warmer. Okay, and we're playing again cold, warm. This is all complementary colors. It's all what we're doing at this point. Okay, next let's go create another color option to this. We'll go click and selective colors. What I like to do, we'll go select the black color first, and with level of black we can control if we want to go crush black. Usually I want to add just a little bit, maybe about 1, 2. Somewhere around that there, -1, 2, so we don't have a total black. And we also can affect, you can see the black our channels. Similar things what we done before. We can work again, add a little bit blue, green, make it a cyan, kind of nice, pleasant. Again, that's what I like it. And we can, you can see we can add more cyanish, but I think in this case we're going to the red warm. So let's add this nice, again, this beautiful tone. Okay, let's go to the neutrals. And neutrals, I want to actually bring to the yellow, and again a little bit warmer. Our neutrals go like the right around there. And let's go to white highlights. This is, you can see just highlights usually bring a little bit closer. We'll bring there and very fast make them a little bit colder look. Overall, again, it's complementary. It's work with this idea of different complementary colors. We also can go ahead, select on the red, and red is everywhere right there. If we're using a lightness, you can see where's the red. Let's bring red a little bit darker, more deeper, and we can also bring kind of red and yellow. So it's just give it a little bit more warm on a red. We can also go on a yellow, and there's our yellow color. And I like make a little bit darker, so I would like to add a little bit more colder look to this. Well, darker and maybe a little bit colder. Yeah, let's go yellow. So play with the colors, see which one you want. You kind of want to apply to this, but you can see with this color correction now it's look more interesting. I think more deeper color, painting kind of effect. And again, painting effect, it's we replicate actually imperfection in the paint, because over the year when they put garnish over the oil painting, it's become yellowish. It's what give it this coloring thin. It's why colors look a little bit more deep. If you restore it, they look a little bit different from original. But again, with the time, pigments is changing, the garnish on top getting more yellowish, darker, and it's what we perception of all painting based on that effect what we see right now. And it's what's simulating. Okay, we're done with this. Let's go next, create new layer. And this is, I call grain. And what is a grain? We'll go fill up with 50% gray. And we'll go to filter, noise, with our noise right here, add noise. We'll just add 5%, don't need too much. And switch to the soft light. Okay, let's look what's going on and why do we want to do this. Okay, if I'm come closer to the face, that's, let's disable grain. And remember, we did smoothing on the face. When we do smoothing, we remove the grain. And if we look on a place where we did not have it, and maybe not so much on this one, but you can kind of see the grain and some right there. Well, this is what's shot on a good camera with good lighting, so not so much. But in many cases, when you shoot, you'll see the different. You'll see area where you're retouching won't have this noise. An area where you did retouch, you have this noise. So you want add kind of uniform to that, so our eyes will trick and think it's all done at the same time. And this is what this make us to think that way, the grain. Okay, we don't, if you think it's too strong, we can go to reduce always, but just leave a little bit, so I'll give it uniform. Beside that grain on a skin, it's add this texturing, so just look a little bit more interesting. Instead that wash out paint, you can see with the grain and without grain. I think with grain look a little bit more realistic. So right here we create our image. The one last thing is what we want to do. It's going click on a text tool and add your name. And before, sometimes I was doing Vladimir Chopin, and recently I switched to fine art photography because I think it's not just a digital photography from beginning. You are the digital artist, and when you work with this, you're actually producing your digital art. So it's more the fine art, more work this way. Okay, so over here is our image. Let's go to just select all, group them together. And we'll call it correctly retouching. Okay, and this is what we have before and after. Not very dramatic, very big compositing like I used sometimes to do, but it is, you can see how it's fixed some areas, add nice coloring and elements, so it's now look, in my opinion, more interesting image. Even before it's have a story, but right here we're focusing on a story, we're focusing on a person, and we'll just add a little bit more paint, like painterly effect to our photography. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. It will help to promote my videos as well on YouTube. And your support on Patreon is very highly appreciated, because without this, it's very hard to produce those videos. and I appreciate all your help and enjoy creating your images. Thank you.